Welcome, everybody, to the Cast from the Coast. My name is Adam Miles, and I'm joined, as always, by Tim Johnson and Josh Lambert. Stop fucking laughing, Tim. How you doing, Tim?
I'm tired and kind of cranky, but I feel like I get over my crankiness when I tease you, so that's...
So you're doing a bit better now.
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Every minute of this episode, you'll get better. So,
it depends on how much you set yourself up, and I make fun of you.
Moving on to Josh. How you doing, Josh?
Oh, he's signing.
For those of you that don't know ASL, that's how are you bitches doing, or how are you bitches doing, or how are you doing, bitches?
Take it however. Any variation of those?
Sure.
It's a greeting followed by you're a bitch, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I've been called worse by less. So.
By better?
Yeah, or by better, that too, yeah. All right, gentlemen, tonight's topic of conversation, we're going to be reviewing a movie that we've seen before, but we've never done a review episode on. And it's a bit of a shame, but due to the popularity of the director and the fact that we just never had a chance to talk about this movie before, let's jump right into it. Hush, from Michael Flannigan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Tim.
Michael Flannigan at it again.
Well, yeah, exactly. Tim, take us out.
Yes.
Tell us about this movie.
All right. The short little synopsis goes as follows. A deaf and mute writer who retreated into the woods to live a solitary life must fight for her life in silence when a mass killer appears at her window.
Mm-hmm.
Hush, 2016.
Hush,
Rated
2016. So, right off the bat, this was a movie that came out. Didn't it debut on Netflix? Like it was like a straight to Netflix type of movie.
Don't think so.
I don't know.
I think that was before Flanagan started getting into the Netflix deals.
Might have been. So 2016's Hush, directed by Flannigan, starring, of course, Mike Flannigan's wonderful wife,
Stunning. Stunning wife.
Kate Siegel, who's done more and more work with Flanagan and proven herself. Let's face it, when everybody says, "Oh yeah, director's wife," no, she's proven herself. I mean, Haunting of Hill House.
She co-wrote this.
Yeah, she co-wrote
this movie.
She acted in this, and she was great. She acted in House on The Haunting of Hill House,
yeah.
And Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game, yeah.
She's been fantastic at everything that she's done. So give her some credit.
Was she in Gerald's Game?
Yeah,
She's the main actress, isn't she?
she was.
No.
Oh, okay.
Who was she in Gerald's Game? She was in Gerald's Game.
No, I don't think she was in Gerald's Game.
She played Sally in Gerald's Game.
I don't know.
She was in Gerald's Game.
She wasn't the main character, though.
Oh, wait, maybe she wasn't the main character, but she was definitely in it. Oh yeah,
Carla Gugino is.
Carla was in it. Yeah, the main character. Yeah, but no, she was in it. She was one of the characters in it.
Okay, I'm looking. I see her on the cast list.
Exactly. So, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the story here for a moment. So, it's actually not a convoluted story by any means. It's a very simplistic premise. This movie decided to go back to kind of like a generic slasher flick, but it had a flair to it, which was really good. Kind of stood out from the pack, especially at the time when, there seems almost like there's some sort of a reinvention of the slasher flick that's on the horizon. You know what I mean? They're talking about doing another Scream. There's all kinds of shit that's being talked about now. But this movie specifically came out when the slasher series had already been kind of, pushed aside, and it's a watered down mess at that point. So here comes the story of this, deaf and mute girl who she's an author. And she lives in a remote area with, by the looks of it, only really one neighbor of any closeness to her. And she can't hear, obviously. And a killer arrives on scene and murders her neighbor and proceeds to play games with her. What? What are you shaking your head now?
Just nothing. It's just nothing.
Oh.
Trying to make myself feel better.
Okay. Digging on Adam, so making yourself feel better. Okay. So, I thought it was pretty interesting, though. The story here, it doesn't really go off the rails by any means. It's a very simplistic story. It has a very, very much so Strangers feeling to it. Like almost as if she was to ask, "Why are you doing this?" I could almost imagine the guy saying, "Just because, like, you're here." Like, I came across you. Like, he had no other real means to be there. It's not like there was some sort of a plot twist that came out and it was like he was an ex of hers or some shit like that, right? Like,
which would have been dope.
Which is what we were all expecting.
Well, until he...
I don't know about you guys, but...
Well, until he pulls off the mask, you are kind of expecting it because she's already, kind of verbalizing with her friend or, communicating about the fact that she's avoiding her ex-boyfriend, Chad, or whatever his name is. Which, if he's got a name like Chad...
Do you think her ex-boyfriend hired him?
Could have. Very much so.
Seems like a mercenary for hire on the dark web.
The dark web.
On the dark web. But it doesn't really go off the rails. It's pretty simplistic. He's there. He wants to kill her.
Yep.
All there is to it. And he's playing a cat and mouse game with her, and he's got a crossbow. And he's just kind of... He could make his way into the house anytime he fucking wants to in that movie. And instead, he decides to play games with her from outside while she's running around scared inside. And it's pretty fun. So
the thing that I really liked about it, though, is that, like, if you strip away the fact that she's deaf and mute, the story would have more or less played out the same, He's fucking with this girl that lives by herself. He could get in at any time or whatever. But the added element of the fact that she had this disability of being deaf and mute, I mean, she's a lot more defenseless than, say, the normal, like, final girl or the normal, like, and I really like that. I really like that extra added element because it felt like the stakes were higher, and like her going through this and eventually spoilers overcoming it made her all that more badass. You know what I mean? So
No,
I liked it.
absolutely.
What do you mean no?
No.
No, he means no as in yes.
Then just say yes. I finished this big long splurge. No.
No, not at all.
No, yeah.
No, yeah.
No.
Yes, no. All right.
Yeah, no.
All right. Yeah. So,
No.
No.
fuck.
All right, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay, so let's talk about characters here for a minute because there actually aren't many characters in this movie at all. There's literally the main character herself.
Yeah.
Daddy.
Yeah. Then there's her neighbor.
Yeah.
And then
John.
was that?
His name was John.
Her name.
Well, I'm talking about her.
Talking
The
about- first
Sarah.
introduced,
the
yeah.
redheaded neighbor, Sarah.
And then John.
And then John. And then
And
the
the
killer,
murderer.
the killer himself.
The
And
man
then we see-
he's called.
There's 2 phone calls that they have with the. I guess you don't actually hear the ex, but you see him calling, and you see her sister. I'm thinking, or a friend.
Chad.
Yeah.
Fucking Chad. I don't know. That name Chad. Whatever. One of my only gripes in the movie, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, is the whole phone call scenario. But okay, so I mean the characters themselves. So talk about her for a second. So she's a very
Hot.
Go ahead, Tim. There you go. Just
I'm
go
done. I got it out of my system.
Okay. So she's a very independent person. She really is, obviously, right? And the one thing that I like that's very meticulous about the way that Flannigan makes a movie is that he brings the character to life, not just through the writing of the character themselves, but as for how the environment around the character is. So very early on, we're introduced to the fact that obviously she's deaf and mute, but she's got things going for her. Like she's got like the very visual things going on with the alarm system in her house and the smoke alarms. The back of her phone, bright light flashes every time that she gets phone calls and messages and stuff like this. Like it isn't just, oh, she's, deaf and mute. There was a whole world that he did create around her. Which was interesting. So it made the character a little bit stronger in my opinion, and she did have a good relationship with her neighbor, which her neighbor, which was really nice too. So
You would pick up on some like weird sexual tension there.
oh yeah,
It's like I think the neighbor's trying to get her going.
yeah, that was
No.
no,
Maybe
Josh,
they
I
just
agree
the
with you,
White House
Josh.
butt
This is
cheek
almost as
situation
bad
all
as the
over
fucking
again.
phantom ass cheeks.
It wasn't phantom ass cheeks, it was phantom sodomy. Shut up.
I don't know.
Okay, this is Josh's
Maybe it
version
was
of that.
just
No,
me.
it wasn't just you, Josh. Like there would be times when the main character's just kind of sitting there staring off, and her neighbor's almost like lovingly looking at her. It was weird, but yeah, no, it was there. Tim just didn't. see
She's
it.
rich as fuck too. Like let's not glaze over that. She got a nice big house, nice neighborhood, no neighbors, just the one.
Maybe.
Successful writer.
Yeah. So the neighbor, Sarah, I think was what
Yeah.
we said her name was.
Sarah and John.
She only really kind of plays into the movie to be the first murder, in my opinion. So she was there to establish the fact that even though the main character was alone, she wasn't truly alone in this life. You know what I mean? She did have a friend, but right off the bat, Flannigan just fucking murders her. And now it becomes more of a helpless scenario.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Is this movie inspired by Stephen King?
No,
Did he
and
write-
I was actually, when we were going to loop around and start talking about it, this movie absolutely reminded me of Stephen King, like 100%.
it had a very Secret Window-esque vibe to it for sure, and
Yeah.
maybe some of the other works of Stephen King too. But yeah, it could have very well have been inspired by.
I just wonder if there's a short story you wrote or something that you're ties into, because they show a bookshelf with a bunch of Stephen King books on it too.
Well, I mean, Flanagan is a huge Stephen
Yeah.
King fan anyway, and if
Right.
you look at his body of work, a
Yeah.
lot of it is
He's done a lot of
fucking-
Stephen King stuff.
Yeah, so I think he's just a fan. I mean, because
Paying homage.
yeah, this was written by both him and Kate
Okay.
Siegel, so yeah, it's.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Were you fact checking?
No, not at all. I wouldn't do that to you,
Doubt
Tim.
Tim.
I wouldn't do that to you, Tim. I don't doubt you,
Yes,
Tim.
you would.
I love you, man.
Yes, you do.
I don't do that.
Full of shit.
So let's talk about the killer here for a minute.
Yeah.
So the killer,
This like mercenary
yeah,
human hunter.
they just call him the Man.
Yeah,
That's
fair.
that's all he's credited as is the
That's
Man.
fair.
The Man. So played by John Gallagher Jr. The Man.
As in Gallagher?
What?
Is he the son of the Gallagher? Like the hammer smashing
I don't think
watermelon
he's the
fella?
son of Gallagher himself, man. That'd be funny. That'd be funny as shit. Okay, whatever. But so this character,
I'm looking it up. Can you imagine? I'm looking it up right now.
We're introduced to him as if he's like a ghost face where you never see his face, and then like 10 minutes into it, he just takes his mask off. He's like, yeah, fuck, you're in for it now.
I do like the mask. I thought the mask was pretty fucking creepy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
Like but it was like this really cool form-fitting mask that had like the buckle type thing on the back to it. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
It's pretty plain, but
It was well, I mean, good idea behind it, right? It's just a blank
It was
facade.
well. I mean, I take it as a. I like that they did it because it would have been something if they would have waited until the end of the movie and he took it off and it's like, oh, that's what he looks like. But the fact that
just
You
right
think-
away.
yeah, this movie's starting off, and he's got the mask, and usually people wear masks to conceal their identity or whatever, right? And even be more intimidating to their victim. But when he takes it off, because she's like, "Oh, you can still go," and I don't know what you look like, and blah blah blah, and he takes it off, and he's like, "I got you, bitch." You know what I mean? Like it was
That's
like.
his I mean business.
Yeah, and I thought it was really effective.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is that it wasn't like it was hiding or his outfit was hiding certain things about him. So if she had gotten away by any chance and he survived himself, he had the big fucking tattoo on his neck and everything else. So like, it's not like it was totally hidden. You know what I mean?
No.
There was a lot about him that she could have very well have reported on him too. So I think the mask was more kind of like going back to what you were saying, Tim, like an intimidation thing,
Psychological.
like just a general logical thing that a killer would probably do. Just have the mask on, and he had no intention of really truly hiding who the fuck he was.
Well, I mean, and also this movie had major like kind of Halloween inspiration behind it. The mask itself, I mean, I'm looking at the picture of it. It's very Mike Myers-esque. Like
Yeah.
it looks very Michael Myers-esque. Just the white nondescript face.
Yeah.
Which is funny because John Carpenter said like this movie was.
Sweet as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always like the eye line underneath where it kind of looks like he's got like bags under his eyes. Just the mask. It was just intriguing. It was just different to me because it's not like it was just flat, surfaced, right? So there's some detail to it, but
I do kind of like how they only gave enough information to sustain the story. You don't really get like a whole backstory on this guy. Like you don't know much about him. You see on his crossbow that he's got all these notches, so you just kind of assume he's been doing this for a while.
yeah. Less is more in this case. All they wanted to do was they wanted to say, here's a fucking psychotic guy,
Yep.
and he's just out to fucking kill somebody. By the looks of it, he killed the neighbor. That was probably his initial target, was just the neighbor. And where she had ended up, running over to the house, and he ended up killing her there. Well, got to add another notch to the old fucking belt, as it were. You know what I mean? So,
Excuse me.
but I really liked his initial attempt to get her attention, because here he is like fucking murdering the neighbor, and he's
And he's
banging
knocking
away.
on-
He's knocking on the
Yeah.
door and everything else, and nothing. And then he just starts fucking tapping on the window, and he's just sitting there staring like, fuck is going on here? Like, he was confused at first, right? And so it was pretty cool. All right, we'll move on from characters, though, because that's pretty much the only characters that you really even want to talk about in the movie. Everybody else is just
Well,
somebody
you
who
do
shows
see the
up.
other neighbor that comes in.
Was it John?
The Chad type.
The Chad type. But yeah, because at first I was like, is this Chad? And I had to go back and think about it, right? But it was John. John, the other neighbor that shows up. So, well, I mean, talk about him for a second then. He kind of got duped pretty fucking bad. And actually probably had the worst of it than anybody. Because he got, what is it, the killer claimed to be like a fucking, a cop, plainclothes cop or something like this. And then when he gets his back turned, he gets a fucking, like a fucking pig shank in the fucking neck with a knife. And he's just bleeding out trying to fight back. It's a pretty fucking dirty way to go. You know. But he didn't go down without a fight. He fucking put up a bit of a fight, so it was pretty good. Okay. With that, let's talk a little bit about the actual effects work that are in this movie. There wasn't much of it.
No.
But what was there was
gore, a little bit of gore.
A little bit of gore, but what was there was pretty fucking good. Like I said, like the actual pig stuck in the neck when he gets him with the knife. I actually cringed. Like I was like, ooh.
You little bitch.
I'm a little bitch, apparently.
Big sook. Can't handle gore. Yeah, do it. Yeah. Little bitch.
Little bitch, Adam. You're feeling better, Tim, are you?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, but this movie, and the reason why I say let's talk about that for a second, because this movie actually doesn't rely heavily on it at all. You know what I mean? In the age of the modern day slasher, the vast majority of things that you're going to see pumped out, you know, of the movie, you know, industry, it's just going to be how can we shock the audience? How can we, you know, put blood and guts and gore in people's faces and make the next great special effects? Which, don't get me wrong, I enjoy that all day, every day. But this movie basically said that's not what the story's about. The story is about this fucking cat and mouse game where this guy's going to fucking kill her. All there is to it. Didn't have to go through, you know, fucking 10 people to get to her by any means. So it was an interesting play on it. It very well could have gone a different way. I mean, it could have been one of those movies where there was like a house party and he had like killed off a bunch of people or some shit, you know, a la Scream or something. But nope. Didn't rely on any of that shit, so.
Low body count.
Low body count.
Yeah, I think it was only like 3 people.
Yeah,
3.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sarah, John, and the man.
Sarah, John, and the man. Total body count.
Robert Englund here, a.k.a. Freddy Krueger. I'm watching and listening. They cast from the coast. You better or else.
So, talk about the way that this movie was filmed here for a minute, and kind of jumping back into her character for a second. We had talked about this before when we were kind of talking about the movie. One of the best things about this character, you know, fuck, I'm losing it. Maddie. I was going to say Caddy for some reason. Maddie.
Caddy?
I don't know why. I was going to say Caddy. I don't fuck.
Caddy.
It's one of those nights.
You're just thinking of the cat.
Pretty much.
That the key character.
Pretty much. The key character, that's right, the cat that appears. But when Maddie she's obviously extremely intelligent. I mean, she's a novelist. She's got all this going on here. One of the things, going back to the way that Michael Flannigan kind of builds the world, is I seen that it was really cool that when she was writing the ending to her new novel, she had like 7 different versions and she kept flipping through them. Right? And she had them all differently saved.
Oh, yeah.
And when it came down to her facing off with the man in the end, she had like visions and she played through all the scenarios as to how it was going to work out. And in the end, she gets them because she feels that one of those scenarios is kind of playing out, and she manages to best him, which I thought was actually a pretty nice little touch, to be honest. Like, it was...
Because she has that inner monologue that she describes earlier that's kind of talking to her and talking her way through it, saying, like, you need to do this or you're going to die.
Yep.
If you do that, you're going to die.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a preemptive trivia time with Tim.
Oh,
but
let's just jump into trivia time with Tim.
No, just let me make my point first, and then we'll sing the song.
Okay.
One of the things that I really, really liked, and I read this after the fact, was that Mike Flannigan, he didn't want the film to be pure silence.
Mm-hmm.
So he added various ambient sounds, specifically an ultrasound machine, where you can hear that weird kind of like heartbeat.
Yeah.
I loved it because it was almost like like music, but it wasn't. But it kept it interesting, right? All right, cue the song.
Trivia time with Tim.
Yeah. Okay, so because the main character Maddie is both deaf and mute, the film contains less than 15 minutes of spoken dialogue, which means there's 70 minutes of this movie that occur with nothing spoken, which
I love that.
Cool.
Genius.
Mike and his wife, the stunning Kate Siegel, basically came up with the story of this while on a dinner date.
Aww.
And they basically like role played each scene in the house before writing it down, which basically enabled them to get a better, idea of how the characters would really react in the face of danger. The director of The Exorcist, 1973, William Friedkin, big fan, encouraged people to watch this movie. Stephen King was also a huge fan, and
Not surprised.
Flanagan, being a huge Stephen King fan, left a bunch of like Easter eggs. A bunch of his books are seen on the shelf. And shortly after Hush was released in 2016, King expressed his enthusiasm for the film on Twitter, saying, "How good is Hush? Right up there with Halloween."
Nice.
Which was pretty high praise. And I guess John Carpenter also was a big fan. And yeah, we already said three people died in this movie.
That was it.
Sarah, John, and the man, in that order.
Yeah.
I have a theory. I like to think that this movie takes place at the exact same time as Gerald's Game, and that the man that she sees in Gerald's Game when she's delusional is the man.
But they chose the man at the end of the movie. He's in the courtroom, remember? He's a big, tall guy. Kind of weird looking.
I think you're delusional, Josh.
I like to think that. There are these
That
houses
this
that are out in the
happened,
middle
or
of
that
nowhere.
you're delusional?
Well, either or.
Both. We'll just claim both. Okay. All right. Well, good trivia time by Tim. But Josh,
Bonus
trivia.
This film was done in 18 days.
Wow. That's actually impressive.
Quick.
Pulled this off.
It's these one-location films. That's how horror movies used to get done.
Yep.
Nice.
You go to a cabin in the woods, get it done.
That's right.
Get her done.
Josh, do you have notes?
I did take notes.
Would you like to regale us with said notes?
Absolutely.
All right.
Notes taken for your reference. February 12th, 2020, 7:48 p.m.
My name is Josh Lambert.
I'm Josh Lambert. The following notes were taken during my first experience with Hush.
Can you please do every note taking like that from now on, please?
Wow.
First note I had, she's got really mad garlic crushing skills. And it shows her after that she's like a shitty chef. That's not true. I bet at home she's cooking some pretty good meals, because an amateur chef cannot crush garlic like that. So, just saying.
Okay. Nice.
5 minutes in before the first line is spoken. This is one of the things I like to record. I like to see how long it goes without saying a word. Because I think the longer you can go while still maintaining my interest tells me you're a good film writer. And we talked a little earlier about how there's like 72-minute gap in there. I think that's one of the hardest things to do as a film writer and as an actor, to be able to still convey the message and everything you need to the film without using any words. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen King books all over her bookshelf, I noticed. Girl Next Door comes over and praises her book, saying she didn't see the twist coming. At this point, I foresaw that there was going to be a twist in this film, and I was looking for the twist the entire time.
And there was no real twist, was there?
I think the twist was that there was no twist. I don't know.
What did you
I'm still very confused. I was just about to say her sign language is really fucking bad, and then just to find out hashtag that's the joke. They make a joke about how her sign language is bad and she's still learning. And I was like, yeah, you are. So that was pretty good.
Okay.
Carrots bitch. Also, you just showed 1 million 7th graders how to sign bitch. Oh, yes. I said, congrats. You just showed 1 million 7th graders how to sign language bitch. So now everyone's going to be going into school doing that. 8 different endings to her book she's writing. Very neat concept here. I really liked how they brought that in later. Oh shit, that escalated quickly. City is too loud, she's deaf. I think that was a joke she made.
Probably.
She's just saying, why did you move to the woods? She's like, oh, the city was too loud. And it's like, but you're deaf.
Nice.
The masked killer only wants attention. Poor guy. Just sitting there knocking on the door.
Poor guy.
So at this point, I took count of the male characters introduced, assuming one of them was going to be the killer. So we have the deaf woman's ex, we have the neighbor's husband, and we have a picture of a brother and father that she looks at. So at this point, I had my suspicions narrowed down to those 4 main characters.
And you were wrong.
Sure was. This killer really has an axe to grind. He could easily just smash his way through the glass door. He just wants to torture her. Hashtag, oh, that's the point. Again, as soon as I thought these things, it immediately said, that's the point. Right in my face. Well, that's the opposite of a twist. It's just the X. Wait, that's not the X. Oh.
Wait a minute. I like how your note literally is like going back on what you just said.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just the X.
Yeah, there was a lot
Wait
of
a
that
minute.
during this film. She's dual wielding a knife and a hammer. Watch out, motherfuckers.
That was good, yeah.
So if the twist doesn't involve the killer, it must involve the main girl. I'm calling it right now. She's not really deaf.
You're back.
Oh shit, she's gonna run for it. Nope, she just turned on the car alarm in the middle of nowhere. Really good idea.
Hoping one of the other
Holy
numbers is
shit,
still around.
hammer to the wrist. Ow.
Yeah, that sucked.
That was a good
Oh,
effect.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
You
good,
could
yeah.
claw the hammer stuck right into his wrist.
Yeah.
And then, alright, holy shit, yes, run fast into the woods, run. And then I said, oh fuck, he's got a crossbow. Go back. For fuck's sakes, Flannigan, you've done it again. At this point, my heart was racing, and my breath was literally held, waiting to see what would happen. He is a master of suspense.
Yep.
And seriously, you have the crossbow. At this point, even if you can't load the crossbow, smack him with it. It's a big, heavy piece of metal.
Nice.
Great job fixing up that hole in your leg. Just pour a little bit of alcohol on it. Don't worry about dressing the wound or anything. It will be fine. Oh shit, he's a full-on human hunter. Did anybody else see those notches on his crossbow?
Yep.
Buddy is knocking on a deaf chick's door. Really? So that was when the neighbor came home, and he's like knocking on the door. Knock, 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 knock.
Well, she would have. I mean, she could have vibrations or whatever.
Mm. Fake cop routine. Nice touch. Jesus fucking Christ. Don't know in what reference to what that was, but at that point, that's what I was feeling. Fake out. Ooh. And then just wrote, got him. Now it's deaf versus blind. So that would have been when she sprayed him with the raid in the eyeballs.
The Hornet killer shit.
Yeah. And I just wrote, got him again! 6 minutes left, and we're going to find out why. The answer to that is no. And then I just wrote, I guess the twist was there was no twist. And that is the note.
The old dick twist.
The old dick twist, that there's no twist.
That's right. Okay, good notes.
So those are my my first impressions of the film Hush.
So there was only two things that really bothered me about this movie. And there was the only two. I said that I had a couple notes too, but like nowhere near like Josh. I don't fucking make my notes like Josh by any means. There's only two things that I had about this. One, when she was trying to FaceTime 911.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look into this because I'm pretty fucking sure you couldn't do that, and I was right. They do not accept FaceTiming for 911. You would have to have a specialized piece of software that allows you to do like a TTL or whatever they call it system.
You're partially right.
Okay.
They do have systems if you're hearing impaired.
Yeah, but it's not straight FaceTime.
No, it would be built into like your phone.
Exactly.
There's even services where you can have where you type in what you want to say, and there's actually an operator on the other side that read it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like I said, just straight up FaceTime.
Yeah.
No, I had to. That's why I had to question it, because I was looking at it saying I know there are services, but I didn't think straight up fucking Apple FaceTime would allow that. And I'm not huge on the Apple verse and how Macs and Apple phones and everything else all claim together. Even though I got an iPhone, I don't have a fucking Mac or anything. When he steals her phone and he's like taking pictures of her and sending them to her.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Okay, fine. Fuck it. Then that note's out.
I send pictures to myself all the time.
Like just like texting yourself, but it appears on your fucking computer.
Yep.
Yeah, I do that all the time too.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. Never mind.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
And as far as the FaceTime, there's probably a program
Okay.
that does exactly that.
All right. Fair enough.
But if that's the only thing that took you out of this film,
Yeah.
consider yourself back in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So if that's the case, then Tim, do you have anything else to add to this?
What can I say that doesn't sound like I'm gushing over Kate Siegel again?
I mean, if you don't have anything specific to add, you can always give your final thoughts on the movie.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I can give my. I wasn't ready to fucking review, but you put me on the spot and shit, and gonna get my little notes up that I had written down. Well, first and foremost, I love this fucking movie. I found it on Netflix. Never heard of it. This was before I became a big Mike Flannigan. I can't speak. Mike Flannigan fan. So I was all excited to watch it, and I go to the kid. Hey, let's watch this movie. It looks really cool. And he's like, I already watched it. I was like, you watched this movie without me? He's like, yeah, I already watched it. So I had to watch it by myself, and I was kind of upset. This movie was like, if I was going to make a slasher movie, it would be like this movie because of the inspiration of, obviously Halloween and John Carpenter's influence, the major influence of Stephen King throughout the whole movie. Like this was my kind of movie. I fucking loved it. And it took such a overdone idea of someone alone in the house being chased by a killer, but found a way to make it fresh and original. And like I was saying, the added element of her being deaf and mute added that extra layer of fight or flight. The stakes were higher, and then you also had that added, when she's in her own head having the conversation and stuff. It was great. Yeah, it was great. Kate Siegel's hot. Rated R. I rated R.
Rated R.
Yep.
Josh.
Recommend.
I also rate this film an R.
What?
It's pretty hard to get those R's out of my penny pincher's pocket. But this movie is deserving of a rating that is to go see it. I have to recommend it.
Of you, man.
Go watch this film. Enjoy it. There's no twist. I'm sorry if you're waiting for the twist.
Dick twist.
But just enjoy this film for what it is. A true version of the slasher that is suspenseful.
Nice.
Like, I almost feel like this is what it was like to watch like Halloween back in the day?
I think so. Like I talk a lot about when I watch horror movies about watching them through rose-colored glasses and how they don't stand up to the modern era of horror. I think this is the modern era of horror. In another 20 years, people are going to say, well, that doesn't stand up.
Yeah.
So as of right now, I have to recommend it. Rated R.
Absolutely. Nice. Okay. Same sentiments for the most part. I mean, this is, like I was saying, this is something that tried to reimagine the horror slasher genre, for the later generations, because a lot of things are picking up again, and I'd like to assume that it's due to the popularity of something like this, that when it came out, and Mike Flannigan has gone on to some amazing things, and I can't wait to see what he pumps out next. But in all, this movie, it's inspiring to know that this kind of a movie made in the same vein of some of the most classic horror movies, such as like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, or Evil Dead, just it's simplistic locations, it's limited people, and it pulls it off in a very, very traditional way of what a movie should be. And you have a good feeling watching the movie, about the fact that you're on the seat, you're on the edge of your seat. You're trying to figure out what the next step is. Is there a twist? Which there's not a twist, obviously, but you don't know any of that, and you continually you're glued to the screen. And Josh kind of brings up a really good point, is that it's you have a lot of time in this movie where nothing was said, but you still you're still watching it. It's almost like your own inner monologue is keeping you going too, you know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen next? And it's rare to find a movie like that. So for everything about this movie, I'm going to have to give it an R as well.
That's 3 R's.
3 R's, triple R.
We got the pirate perfecta here.
We do. The R.
The R.
The R's. The R's have it. All right then, gentlemen. So great review of this, and ladies and gentlemen, please check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to the page and to the channel, and hit the alerts, because we do go live, as some of you will probably have already seen earlier. And we do it probably once a week, as much as we can, unless there's technical difficulties or life gets in the way, because let's face it, YouTube's not paying us to do this like a lot of those people out there, but I wish it did. But you could help out with that, by the way, and because we're on Patreon. So Patreon, open up your hearts and your wallets, and become a patron to the channel, and check us out on all of the major...
I wasn't expecting the whistle. That scared me.
Check us out on all the major podcasting platforms. We're on Google Play, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. Check it out. Subscribe, share, listen. Check us out on Facebook and see what all the latest is from us. And until next time, Tim.
Stay spooky, everybody.
Josh.
The twist is, there's no twist.
Right in the dick twist.
Except for the old dick twist.
The old dick twist.
Except for the old dick twist. Have a good night, everybody. See you next time.